more self-confident?
I do.
The second time you are coming on air.
This is after the last time. This is the second time.
You've not done anything since then, just today.
Hello and welcome to Political Voice. I am Joy Adesua Emefiele. Nigerian authorities have failed to arrest Asari Dokubo, a former Niger Delta militant leader, several months after he brandished rifles in a video clip which has now gone viral on social media. Dokubo has not been arrested and prosecuted despite clearly violating Nigerian law. The video clip began trending on 20th of June, about 4 days after the former militant leader met with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa, Abuja. But investigations show that the clip was released by Dokubo in late September 2022, but first went viral days later in October, over 8 months ago. The clip appeared on a YouTube page on the 1st of October 2022, and in the viral video clip, Dokubo was heard calling the Igbos slaves, who is said he would have continued to sell if not for the intervention of the British government. The former military leader, who spoke on various issues, brandished 2 AK-47 rifles while threatening to kill all Igbos, an ethnic group predominant in Nigeria's southeast. Dokubo is Kalibari, a part of the Ijaw ethnic nationality in Rivers State and Nigerian South-South. The former militant leader equally mocked the Igbos, saying that they were dying in large numbers. But the flaunting of the rifles, in the video clip, highlighted the inequality before the Nigerian law. The Firearms Act of number 32, of the Nigerian states, as follows: no person shall have in his possession or under his control any firearm or ammunition except with a license from the President or the Inspector General of Police. Offenders face a minimum of 10 years imprisonment on conviction. Various persons have been arrested and prosecuted for either illegal possession of firearms or making ethnic slurs on social media. My guests this morning are Mr. Tochukwu Ezukama, the public affairs commentator, and barrister at law, Olayinka Ola Daniels, who is joining us virtually. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you so very much.
All right. So to begin, I'll start with you, Mr. Tochukwu.
Yes. Mr. Ezukama Tochukwu.
Okay. Mr. Tochukwu Ezukama. All right, sir. So what do you think of this unruly behavior exhibited by Asari Dokubo? I mean, for a man publicly brandishing weapons, could it be that he's being backed up by some superior authority or, political forces, so to speak? What do you think?
There's nothing surprising about Dokubo brandishing guns. It's a militant, and he's been in the creeks causing trouble for so long, and there's nothing surprising about it. But then what is surprising is about the lawlessness that is in the country. The lawlessness and the double standards. So we can talk about Dokubo and his brandishing of guns and the inability of the government to punish him. But what of the lawlessness, the culture of impunity and the double standards that are across board? EFCC goes after some corrupt officials and then ignores some notoriously corrupt officials. That's double standards. This lady at the oil minister spent about, Mrs. Desania, spent about 10 billion just renting planes to just go on a pleasure ride for her personal business. She was never arrested. I don't think she was arrested. The house called for investigation. She refused to appear, and nothing happened. So that keeps happening all over. There's a lot of notorious criminals masquerading as politicians are all over. Nobody is bothering them because they're in the right party or they have some good arrangement to secure them. And then brandishing AK-47s, Fulani herdsmen or Fulanis are all over the southeast brandishing AK-47s and nobody's saying a word. There was a case where the chiefs appealed to, because Fulani young men were showing off triumphantly, defiantly, waving their guns. And the Igbo chiefs went and called the Fulani elders. Why are these young men doing this? The Fulani elders said, do your worst. Were they prosecuted? Were they arrested? Nothing happened because they are foot soldiers in Fulani expansionism, Fulani irredentism. I don't know what will become of that design, Fulani design to take over Nigeria. But President Babangida pandered to it. Babangida encouraged it and emboldened it. So what happened to the Fulanis? You see them with their cattle and a gun hanging over their shoulder, and visibly, and nobody does anything about it. So about Tokumbo, Asari Dokubo, he's a terrorist, but we can use the colorful euphemistic word, militant. He's a militant. And militants use guns in carrying out their operations. So if the tool of your profession is a gun, what's wrong with you see medical doctors with their
Stethoscope.
That's the part of their job. You see architects with T-squares and pencils, and part of their job. You see lawyers with their wig and all that. So a terrorist, he needs a gun for his job. There's nothing wrong with brandishing a gun. But then the thing with a man like Asari Dokubo is that he has nuisance value. So whoever is in power is very careful in dealing with a man like that, because he can start blowing up the oil pipes, and that's the main source of income for Nigeria. And the powers that be need that oil money to be flowing in. It keeps them afloat. Without it, the system cannot function. They themselves cannot function. So to answer your question precisely, because I've been digressing, nothing happened to him because he has nuisance value. He can choose to be a nuisance if you don't respect him, if you don't tolerate him, even if you don't let him have things his way.
Wow,
that's
so
why.
I'm sorry to cut you there.
Yes.
Are we saying now that Dokubo is more like above the law, so to speak, in that
Too many people in Nigeria are above the law. Is that news to you?
Okay.
So many people in Nigeria are above the law. So he's one of them because he has nuisance value. Apart from his
So it's
nuisance value, there's
better he's
nothing
avoided.
about
Okay.
it. So the powers that be have to deal with him very, very carefully. Yes, that's it.
Very well. Mr. Ola Daniels, what do you have to say to this? What's your take on this issue about Dokubo, brandishing weapons on social media? What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, to some of us, we have come to terms with such shenanigans, if I'm permitted to use such words. You must understand how this thing works. For instance, Asari Dokubo, the Tompolos of light, they have their special, more like, let me put it this way. It may not be on paper, but they are absolutely a special agent in the Niger Delta axis. And you know that these people, they have so much hold on their people. These Asari Dokubo, the Tompolo, and the likes of them. Of course, federal government engaged Tompolo. There's a contract is doing for federal government to make sure that they, they safeguard the zone as against all these people blowing up, like using thief to catch thief. So the federal government knows that these people are necessary evil. They must engage. So now they have done that, because the question is, where did they get all these ammunitions that they carry about? And don't forget, sometimes you hear that, oh, joint efforts of joint forces, the military, then work with some of the top militants, the saboteurs and all that. So we get to see this. How do you then say you want to person where did he get it from? Who supplies them ammunition? You need to see what these people have. The level of people. Not just every 47 that if you see ammunition here, if you talk about ammunition here. So where did they get it from? We must ask all these questions. How did it come into the country? And federal government cannot deny the fact that they know this, all this, because those are the people they also call on, the youth, to safeguard their. And that was why the issue before late President Yaradua came in and he came up with amnesty. If you remember, and that was how this whole thing died down. It went down and things are getting shape. It was really bloody there. And you hear bombs here and there and things are happening. Asari Dokubo was picked. But what can they do? Because they know that they need him. The Tompolos and the likes, these are people, not to say, oh, you're having billions of contracts with them, and yet you have to do it. So you can, these people, when you talk about above the law, well, if I have to also say that, because I do not think it's about them being above the law, it's about enforcement of the law. The law enforcement pick their victims, or they choose. I mean, they fight. You want to pick Asari Dokubo, and the next thing do you want to test the what, allowing those militants springing up again? Because once a leader and
Okay, Mr. Ola Daniels, we stopped hearing you for a bit, but in line with what Mr. Ola Daniels has said, Mr. Ezukama, just a few days ago, we heard that the former CBN governor, Emefiele, is being prosecuted for the illegal possession of ammunition. Now, isn't this like double standard? Like, how do you arrest somebody for the same crime and yet somebody else is doing the same thing, and then it's almost like there is no consequence? What do you have to say to this, Mr. Ezukama?
The issue with Emefiele is different. I mean, with the issue with Dokubo, Emefiele, it's an elite class power game. The elite know what they are doing. A man like Emefiele cannot be just pushed around. He was, or to me, he's still a part of the power elite. He was running for the presidency, or started to and withdrew. He changed, redesigned the Naira. He was in a position to influence a lot of things, even the presidential election outcome. So I think he played his role, and with the support of a certain political group, elite group. And now a new elite group is around and feel that he needs to be punished. So it's not like a man picked on the street with a pistol in his pocket, a man brandishing a a machine gun or an AK-47 on a rooftop. His own case is quite different. The elite do their things in their own way. So maybe he fell out of favor with the powers that be, because I'm not an insider into the APC power intrigue, but it seemed that some of the APC members were opposed to Tinubu's presidential ambitions, and they may have used Emefiele to step on Tinubu's toes or to subvert his political campaign. And I think the Tinubu group is paying back. Emefiele being caught with one single barrel, whatever they call it, not a powerful gun, just one like a locally manufactured pistol. And you think he will go to jail for that in Nigeria if the powers that be are not out to punish him? That's impossible. Because but what of the money that he allegedly stole? He has done a lot of terrible things. The number of people that died during the Naira redesign, it wasn't planned, it was tendentious, it was vindictive, it was directed to serve a certain purpose. And in the process of serving this purpose, Nigerian citizens did not count. People were suffering, dying, couldn't get their money. So he's a man that by extension has blood in his hands, because that project, that program cost people's lives. It was a terrible thing to do to a country of 200 million persons. So it's part of the power game, it's part of the elite, and they know the games they are playing. So to call it double standards or to compare his case with Dokubo, it's like comparing gold and stone. So I can't compare the two. The elite know what they are doing. Emefiele can only be in trouble if very powerful interests want to put him in trouble. A man that is brandishing a machine gun or AK-47 should be arrested by the police, locked up in the police station, under a DPO in some local government somewhere. But you can't arrest Emefiele. The police on the street couldn't have arrested Emefiele, taken him to a local government police station, locked him up in a cell. He's way above that. So it's the presidents and former presidents that are playing their games, and it's above us. It's not the same thing at all.
Very well. I would like to put that same question to you, Mr. Ola Daniels. Do you think there is some kind of tribalistic, undertone to all of this? Because it seems as though there's a little bit of conspiracy against the Igbos. That's what some people think. Yes. So what do you think about this, Mr. Ola Daniels? I mean, saying that Emefiele was, prosecuted for the same crime, somebody else is committing, and is seeming as though there is nothing happening to him. What's your take on that, Mr. Ola Daniels?
Be proactive and be smart in their own way. Look, it's a strategy.
Okay, I think there is a little bit of connection issues there with Mr. Ola Daniels. Okay, so I will just go straight to you. Okay.
Is there a conspiracy against the Igbo?
Yes,
You didn't
yes.
ask me that question.
Oh, okay,
But you
okay.
included it
Oh,
in his
okay.
own question.
All right, all right. I can put the same question to you,
The
sir.
thing is this, that when the elite sit around, they don't talk religion. They don't talk tribe. The elite are so tied together. They have these shared interests. Their wives belong to the same associations. Their children intermarry. They have business interests tying them together. That was one of the reasons Rawlings succeeded in Ghana. Rawlings came to power as an underdog, where a flight lieutenant in the Air Force is like a captain in the army. So a captain is not a big man. Okay, so he was yet to join the ranks of the power elite, the governors, the generals, the ministers, the presidents. That was why he could deal with that group, decimate that group, jolt them off their somnolence, and shape Ghana. In Nigeria, the man coming into power has the ties with the man you've overthrew. So they are all interrelated. So these elite don't talk tribe. They don't talk. When Dasuki was sharing the $2.2 billion earmarked for armament for the fighting of Boko Haram, tribe wasn't a factor. He gave to Igbos, he gave to Yorubas, he gave to Hausas, he gave to everybody. Now there's a 70 billion naira subsidy, what do you call it, palliatives for the members of House. Nobody is saying, no, we don't want this money. Be them Labour, be them APC, be them PDP, be them Igbo, be them Hausa, they're all fine with it. So it's when they want to deceive the masses, they bring in tribe. Emefiele was Buhari's right-hand man. They worked together, either to put in their own candidate as president or to undermine certain candidates. Was the tribe a factor in that? Buhari is an Hausa man, Hausa Fulani. Emefiele is Abo. Abos are Igbos that speak a dialect of Igbo that has this Edo cadence, the way they speak, okay? But there was no tribe. So it's not about tribalism. Dokubo was working with IPOB man, Nnamdi Kanu.
Yeah.
He trained Nnamdi Kanu's bodyguards for him. They worked together. Nnamdi Kanu said he gave him, did he say 20 million naira? I don't remember the figure. They went along fine until they started having financial issues. Okay, well, the other issues. Dokubo said Nnamdi Kanu killed a certain priest in Enugu. Nnamdi Kanu said, no, I didn't kill the priest. Said you're soiling the movement with innocent blood. But they started having clashes. So now he's talking anti-Igbo talk. But he was also encouraging an Igbo leader who was not only talking Igboism, but also secession from Nigeria. So he has nothing absolutely to do with the tribe. It's the man on the street, the market woman that is struggling for a store. Hey, you be Yomo Igbo, I no go agree, be elite. They are not sensitive to tribe. They are not sensitive to religion.
All right, Mr. Izakama. So can we also link, because last month and even recently, there's been lots of violence and killings going on in the southeast, and some time ago, a group came out to accuse Dokubo of being linked to some of these killings in the southeast. So do you think there is any correlation? Do you think, all of this is part of the handiwork of Dokubo, or is it, can we say that?
There might be, there might not be. I don't have any information on that. Okay. We can only conjecture. You can't be sure what is happening there. But the problem in the southeast runs deeper. The Igbos lost a war. Like I say time and time again, 9 out of 10 times, a man's problems are not caused or were not caused by friends, relatives, enemies, but the person himself. So to make progress, you have to look inwards and take responsibilities for your actions. There's a saying, that there are many ways to succeed, but one way to fail. And that way to failure is blaming others for your own problems. Let me not digress too much, but I'll digress a little. The Biafran War was a one man's game. Emeka Ojukwu was ambitious, selfishly ambitious. So to get his people fighting for what was essentially a one man's ambition required to give it a correlation, to give it a coloration of the fight for survival required a lot of falsehood. And that falsehood is embedded in the Igbo mind's psyche, even up till today. And that falsehood breeds among the Igbos today a victimhood mentality and persecution complex. The Igbo man believes everybody's after me, I am hated, they don't want me in Nigeria. Anything he does, every of his failure he blames on somebody. So the fundamental reason in Igbo land is that we lacked cohesion, we lacked a consensus, and we lack leadership. And when there's no consensus, no cohesion, no leadership, things will definitely go wrong. And Nnamdi Kanu was a symptom of things going wrong, okay? So when Nnamdi Kanu started saying, we have to train our own army to defend our own people, and you brought in a lot of thugs, people who had nothing to do with themselves, and armed them. Say, go attack Fulani headsmen, attack this person, attack this person. At a point, talking about Frankenstein monster, he lost control of some of them. Some of them became renegade criminal groups. Other groups joined in from nowhere with no political motivation, just criminal tendencies, and started operating along the line of we are fighting this, we are fighting that, but essentially to serve their personal interests. So whether Dokubo is taking advantage of the situation, I don't know. It's possible. Whether whoever is exploiting the situation is possible. But the fundamental problem was the problem in Igbo land. So when the Igbos get there, what is happening in Igbo land cannot happen in Yoruba land. The elders will sit down and handle it. So when the Igbos get their house in order, every other thing will fall in place.
All right, very well. Mr. Ola Daniels, I don't know if you can hear me. We would like your final thoughts on this particular issue.
Yeah, I was saying I did not know if you heard me when I was saying that what is happening to Emefiele is a strategy, and like I said, the court ordered the release of Emefiele, and the DSS cannot disobey court order. So DSS has to be proactive by making sure that there is a felony offense that will be charged against Emefiele, and that is the reason why you have that charge against Emefiele. That charge is appetizer, is to keep him in the DSS custody. Pending the time, DSS will be able to complete their investigation on all the allegations against him. You have Emefiele, he will be charged with this firearms charge against him is nothing to what is coming. But they cannot, DSS cannot disobey because we're talking about the rule of law. You cannot court order by not releasing him. And the reason why there is a felony. And the section 37 make sure that he stays in their custody pending the time they will finish that. So Emefiele has a lot to answer. Not this one is nothing, it's appetizer. What you have today, so you cannot compare it with Asari Dokubo's case. They are totally different. In as much as I agree that what is good for the goose is
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ola Daniels. And that's how much we can take on the first segment of the show. Our second topic comes up just in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying. Now to the next segment. If there was ever one problem every successive Nigerian government has wrestled with, it is that of ghost workers. Who are ghost workers anyway? Ghost workers are names of persons added to the government's payroll when in actual fact they do not exist. In fact, they are ghosts as their names suggest, except that their operations are not in the world of the spirit. They are greedy ghosts who eat what humans eat and share what we share in the material world. And the Nigerian ghost worker is the reason a lot of money cannot be freed up for government to invest in the well-being of the society in terms of roads, housing, education, industries, and so on. In today's story, the Abia state government has announced significant savings of over 200 million naira on its monthly wage bill, as a result of its extensive verification exercise conducted on civil servants and public workers. This exercise successfully identified and eliminated over 2,300 ghost workers from the state's payroll. In a statement released on Monday by Kazi Uko, the chief press secretary of Governor Alex Oti, the state's accountant general Unjom Onyenemam, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but you'll forgive me, disclosed that the savings were achieved through the implementation of a unified payment system. This system ensured that transparency and efficiency in salary disbursement was carried out. And he further confirmed that the payment on April salaries to workers and June pensions to retirees had been successfully processed. He also spoke after a meeting with the state governor, Dr. Alex Oti, and said that the verification exercise was still ongoing and that the government hopes to make more savings. My guests are still with me in the studio. We have Mr. Tochukwu Ezukama, who is a public affairs commentator, and also Mr. Olayinka Ola Daniels, who is a lawyer. So the first question, I'll be directing that to you, Mr. Ola Daniels. What exactly, we are looking at ways by which government can cut down the cost of governance. And this must be a great step. So what do you have to say to this story?
First, I must congratulate Abia State's government because there are some people that they are very good at, you see, when we talk about being patriotic, we find that a lot of Nigerians, a lot of us as people are not. We are the one killing ourselves. The people that are, who are the people making the money that's supposed to be paid to these ghost workers? Is it Mr. Governor? They are head of services. So he will claim he is not aware. There are head of parastatals. They will claim they are not aware. What are the processes in which they pay salaries? If not for this verification put up, and people are doing this the same way, they will continue this trend, which happens all over a month. And that 200 and something million goes to someone's pocket or maybe number of people's covens. So it is sad that, this is still happening. It is sad that people feels that, it is national cake or it is state whatever cake that, okay, whatever. And people are so wicked. People do not care, and they care only for themselves. Me, myself, and I. This syndrome. I hope that Nigerians at every level will do the needful and will be patriotic and will know that this affect. Look at that, 200 and something million monthly, leaving the pocket of the state government.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ola Daniels. Now, next to you now, Mr. Izokama. Given the situation of things, shouldn't this be a norm? Shouldn't other governors, follow suit on this? What are your opening thoughts generally on this particular issue?
Let me start by saying that I'm impressed by what Dr. Oti is doing in Abia State. Because my fear was that a lot of politicians will lash on the P2OB labor obedient bandwagon and get into power, but not motivated by any ideal, not driven by the public good, and it will just be business as usual, although they are in power under Labour Party, supposedly a transformational party, but in their minds, they will remain as retrogressive, as conservative, and as moribund as any other Nigerian politician, okay? But what is showing that obedient movement really has something in stock for Nigerians. So the thing about ghost workers, the average secretary, the average messenger in the office knows nothing about ghost workers. It comes from above. It's the bureaucrats, the accountant generals, the PAMSECs, the commissioners, And sometimes the governors may not directly make money from it, but because it helps in the patronage, whoever that is benefiting from it is a supporter. He helped in the last election. Let's look the other way. So it comes from the top. So OT, other governors know that there are ghost workers, but some are letting it lie because it serves a purpose. OT is working on it and is beginning to do a good job already. He's identified 2,300 ghost workers and is saving the state 200 million a month. That's like 2.4 billion in a year. That's very substantial in a poor state like Imo State. And in any state in Nigeria, Nigeria is a poor country. We have the social indices of the poorest countries in the world. We are the capital of poverty in the world, okay? So Nigeria is a poor country. So it's starting well. And I hope he sustains it. That would be good. But the question is, there was this speculation that the former finance minister, Ado, she lost her job because she was fighting ghost workers. The, was it accountant general, auditor general, somebody said no, it wasn't about ghost workers. But she really wanted to deal with ghost workers. She has this British mentality. She speaks British English and has British mentality. So she wanted to get things done right. She could not. She was removed. So those that benefit from ghost workers are those way up there. And the governor, what he's doing is wonderful. But the question is, all those that have been implicated in their involvement in bringing about ghost workers, what happened to them? Because the thing is about culture of impunity. We are talking about a man who brandished an AK-47, supposedly an offense, a criminal offense, that didn't get punished. But many Nigerians get away with crime on a daily basis, especially those in authority. So these ghost workers, who was taking their, who was making money off of them? Where are these people? Why are they not being arrested? A man steals a chicken, a man steals 10 naira, no, 5,000 naira in the market. The police arrest him and parades him. Where are these? Why don't you parade them? Why don't you make sure they get arrested? Why don't you make sure they get prosecuted? So the system remains. Nobody gets punished. So a man who made money off of ghost working, off of ghost workers, now is on the loose, looking for loopholes in the system to still perpetrate the same thing. So we must deal with Nigeria. I heard that a Nigerian journalist once asked Bill Clinton, what advice do you have for us? What should we do to make our country a more livable, functional society? He says, enforce your laws. If we start enforcing our laws, this country will be a wonderful place to live in.
Yes, sir. You mentioned something about purpose. There is a purpose for which, these ghost workers, even if they are, they are investigated and all of that, they still exist because some set of people are, gaining from. So how does that apply? I mean, how is it? Can you give us some kind of insight into the purpose for which, the government cannot really tackle, this issue of ghost workers in Nigeria? Yes.
The purpose of not tackling ghost workers.
Yes.
You give a contract and your political supporters, your business cronies share up the money, spend the money, and the contract is not done and nobody says a word. Why is that happening? Interests. They have interest. Some are political supporters. Some of the people making money from ghost workers are powerful, politically powerful. The governor or whoever needs them for the next election. They have influence. They can mobilize people. So the government needs their support. So it looks the other way, as though so it's the Nigerian thing. What do they call it? It's a popular word for it.
Mentality.
Patronage.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So you chop, I chop. I supported you. Even you see it on the street. Some of the arboros stand, they charge you to park on the street. The street is public street. Nobody charges you to park on the street. But there were arboros that did some work during the election time. You can't support them anymore. So you look the other way as they charge for 500 naira, 400 naira to park on the street. That's the way they make their own money. And you're keeping them there knowing that another election is coming. But the police can't arrest them. If the police arrest them, you get them released. Okay? You say, make your money, don't fight, don't break anybody's head, take your time, but keep collecting money on the street for parking your car in public space. That's illegal. So a lot of illegal things happen because of patronage. So this is one of the illegal things that can happen, and if the governor allows it, it continues to happen because of patronage.
Very well, very well. Mr. Ola Daniels, from what has been, seen from this story, we see that, I mean, by now, shouldn't a unified payment system be like a norm in Nigeria by now? Because, I mean, the IPPIS, the UTIS, ought to have, had like a national revolution by now. But here we are praising a single state government, for something that should be a norm. I mean, database, this is something everybody, I mean, other nations do, without stress. Well, here we are praising a particular state for this same action. Shouldn't this be like a law in every state, for every state to actually adopt it, in that everybody has a database, so that everybody knows that, okay, yes, this amount of workers are present working in this ministry and all that, and there is no such thing as ghost workers and all of these things we have. What's your take on that, Mr. Ola?
What do we classify those workers to? Under what? It's going to come under corruption. We talked about data, and we talked about technology. We talked about, okay, what's unified payment and all that. Now, one thing about the computer. So now, the names, the data
All right, Miss. Okay. All right, Mr. Ezekamba, I can see you are already reacting to what he said. So let's hear your thoughts.
Oh no, the thing is, IPPIS is a wonderful tool, and the President Buhari started working on it, but he received a lot of opposition from different sources, because those that benefit from the chaos in the system did not want any kind of sanitization of the system. Number one, well, not number one, but one major group that stood against IPPS is ASU. ASU is a very corrupt organization. They are a band of supposedly intellectuals, polymaths that lost their sense of mission, because the academia is a prestigious but impecunious profession. There's no money in being a professor anywhere in the world, apart from a few professors that wrote some bestsellers. The average professor is comfortable but not rich. The Nigerian professors want to live like the politicians or the big businessmen. So they stood in the way of IPPS because of the inbuilt corruption in their system. So an effective implementation of IPPIS will help the system a lot. Nigeria remains a very corrupt country. And even what we have in Nigeria is not corruption anymore. It's gone beyond corruption. It's like certain behaviors defy the English lexicon. So you start looking for a new word to accurately characterize it. So what I what I call what we call corruption in Nigeria is a piratical depredation. You know, pirates are like high sea robbers, and they are worse than pirates are high sea robbers. They are worse than highway robbers. And depredation is looting and tearing down. So it's like pirates, high sea robbers, looting, not just looting, but tearing down a country. That's what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria will remain a corrupt country for the foreseeable future for historical reasons. That's beyond the scope of this discussion. Okay. But the thing is, how do you manage this corruption? Get it down within manageable limits, like we had in the First Republic, when you had Awolowo's, Belewa's, Azikiwe's. The system was corrupt, but not terribly corrupt. Politicians may misappropriate 5% of the money. The notoriously corrupt ones misappropriated 10%. Okay, but the system functioned. But now you take the whole 100%, even you over invoice, you make it 200% and steal the whole thing. That's not corruption anymore. You're tearing down the system. So IPIS will help to reduce the prevalence of ghost workers. There will still be corruption in the system, but let's reduce the corruption. How do you reduce the corruption? Example by leadership and striking an emotional chord with the masses. The average Nigerian sees nothing with corruption. It's my turn, I beg, make I chop. So Nigerians will beat up a thief and burn him up, but will not attack a man for corrupt activities. Because in the mind of Nigerians, in there, they ain't gonna chop something now. So why can you get the masses to start changing that mindset? It's emotional. That's what propagandists do. That one is emotional. And if the leadership is setting the example, not when you take 70 billion and give to 443 men, and then give the masses 8,000, you're not setting the example. So your question is, how do we do this across board?
Across board,
IPPIS should help so much, but the corrupt elements there will still look for ways to circumvent or subvert the system.
Yes, I thought you were also reacting to what he said when he said this is a global thing.
It's not true. Nigerians enjoy that feeling that what is happening in Nigeria is across board. You don't, no policeman will stop you in some countries of the world for wrong driving and you give him money and he takes. To some people, it's unthinkable. You see? And so it doesn't happen everywhere in the world. In some countries of the world, there are moral standards. Nigerian legislators got into trouble because they went to the US and started trying to seduce house cleanups. They started acting as though they're in Nigeria. But that was America. Americans were repelled by that. So the standards in Nigeria, moral and ethical standards, are very low, and it's not comparable to what is obtainable in many countries of the world.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Tochukwu Ezukama, and to our guests, virtually, Mr. Ola. Thank you so much for staying with us. Okay, Ola Daniels. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for staying with us. Okay, so that's about all we can take on Political Voice this morning on VOP TV. Joy Adesiwai Ramasele. Stay tuned for more interesting programs coming up shortly. Good afternoon.